From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sports Bash is also presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Sports Bash is brought to you by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash, get a free dessert with your meal. By Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles in Rockville Center, Long Island's go-to store for sports, entertainment, and political memorabilia since 1996. They're also available for charity auctions. Mention Sports Bash when you come in and get a free autographed photo. Give Warren a call at 516-826-4000. And by the Marty Lyons Foundation, the official charity of Sports Bash Media. For more information, go to MartyLyonsFoundation.org. The annual Marty Lyons Foundation NFL Draft Party is coming up next month. Stay tuned later in the show. We'll tell you more about that. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. 516-465-3990 is the number to call. Make sure you're subscribing to Govs Comedy Club Podcast and Sports Bash Media on YouTube and following along on Facebook and Instagram, all the usual suspects for social media. Coming up on the show, I'll be joined by Baseball Digest Editor-in-Chief Rick Cerrone. It is the same Rick Cerrone who was the longtime media relations director of the New York Yankees, so it's going to be great to catch up with Rick in about 15 minutes or so. We're also going to play Stump the Wiz today, and again, we like to switch things up a little bit with Stump the Wiz every now and then, and we have a two-part question. Well, it's not a two-part question, it's two questions. It's one of those deals where, Wiz, you have to answer the first question to get to the second question, but you got to leave time on the 2 minutes to do that. So That's coming up. And by the way, here's how big Stump the Wiz has gotten. Would you like to know how big Stump the Wiz has gotten?
Go on.
Tony, do you want to know how big? It is literally a pop culture phenomenon. Another student at my son's school, yesterday asked him, is Stump the Wiz staged?
Wow.
They were questioning the authenticity of Stump the Wiz.
Believe me, it's not.
It is not staged, and we have been doing this for the last 72 years. Stump the Wiz is going on a long, long time, and it actually was very insulting to me that somebody at my son's school suggested that Stump the Wiz was not real.
I'm a little insulted myself, Mr.
Right.
Schwartz.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Rick Cerrone also do PR for the Mets at one point?
Rick Cerrone? No, but the Pirates. He went from the Pittsburgh Pirates to the... Why would you be insulted by that?
Because I'm a Met fan.
Well, no, I don't think he... No, Rick Cerrone... There's two Rick Cerrones.
No, I'm aware of that. This
One
is
was
not
the
the
catcher
player.
who caught
Right.
for both the Mets
both.
and Yankees. No, I don't believe... Well, let's see. Let's answer that question
All right.
because he sent me his bio.
Oh, all right.
Okay, and if he ever worked for the Mets, I'll be shocked. He went to Northern Illinois
I
University.
could have sworn he was with the Mets.
High-profile awards program, Most Valuable Player Awards for PR-wise AL and NL Championship Series. Vice President of Public Relations for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Before that, he was a talk show host on WNEW with Richard Neer, who's now on WFAN.
I don't remember that either.
Well, that I do. I used to call that show as a kid growing up. So, yes, they did. He was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I'll bring this up to him later, but it was when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates that I first connected with him, and I'll explain that when he's on the show. No, he did not work for the New York Mets.
My apologies.
You're wrong. You get nothing. Good day, sir.
And that's why you host
And
this
that's
show.
why I host the sports talk show, and you host the Michigas. You host every day between 11 and 12:30 on the Knock and Dead comedy show.
I'm going to change it to the Michigan show.
The Michigan show. But yeah, so I wanted to bring up the Stump the Wiz. Could you? Somebody actually had the audacity to question the authenticity of Stump the Wiz. But we will have a great episode of Stump the Wiz a little bit later on the show, and I hope we have a really good episode of This Week in Sports History. Can you give us a little? I don't want to tease, but can you at least reassure me that we're going to have a good This Week in Sports History later?
We will.
Okay.
We're going to have a great one.
Okay, good. That's fine. It's better than good. Absolutely. So again, Rick Cerrone coming up at 1:20. by the way, it has been freezing here the last few days. Today is actually a gorgeous day. Yes, it rained a little bit earlier today, but wow, I just came out of a meeting at Nassau Coliseum, a New York Dragons related meeting, and I literally had to take my jacket off. That's how nice it was outside. So finally, some nice weather. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but hopefully you can get outside today if you're here on Long Island. I know there's at least one person. It's my mother watching in Florida, so it's always nice in Florida for the most part when it's not pouring rain. But we have a very, very nice day here now on Long Island, so if you can get out and walk around a little bit, that's great. And we'll be talking baseball with Rick Cerrone in a little bit. I want to start talking about something hockey-related, and I did not obviously get a chance to touch on this the other day because we had Rob from Lake Success was our FOP the other day, and I wanted to talk about the whole Brock Nelson situation with the Islanders, and I'm glad I didn't get to it on Tuesday because I wound up going to the Islanders-Winnipeg game on Tuesday night, and going through the evening and going through the post-game and covering the locker room and doing a story about it for WFAN.com, a series of things happened during the course of the day on Tuesday, and I wanted to bring it up because I think it brings up something about a broader spectrum of sports. So many people always come up to me over the years, like when what's wrong? You okay? And I'm like, oh, the Islanders had a bad game last night, or the Jets had a bad game, and it bothers you. When you're a sports fan, there are emotions that go through you that people who don't follow sports closely will never understand. Like, when I tell the story of walking out of a Jet game and punching a dent into the concession booth, people say, is something wrong with you? Are you okay? It's a game. And I know it's just a game. And we have bigger issues going on in the world than sports. But if you are a diehard sports fan, and that's why I'm sitting in this chair right now. If I didn't love sports so much growing up as a kid, I would never have dreamed of being a sports reporter or a sportscaster or a talk show host, and now even a general manager. It's a completely different animal than other emotions. Now, there's so many different emotions you can go through. And believe me, I have a point to all this, and I'll get to it. But if you're not a sports fan, you just don't get the emotions that come with being either a sports fan or working in sports, covering sports, whatever it might be. So, as everybody knows, if you follow sports here in New York, especially if you're an Islanders fan, you know that Brock Nelson is an impending free agent. Bless you, Tony.
Thank you.
No problem. If you follow sports here in New York, especially the Islanders, you know that Brock Nelson, the Islanders' lone representative in the Four Nations face-off, and he's had a terrific career with the Islanders. He's been an all-star, and someday his name is going to be in that Islanders Hall of Fame, that new Ring of Honor that's around the top level of UBS Arena. Brock Nelson's name. Sign it right now at 1:08 p.m. on, what's today's date? March 6th?
March 6th, yeah.
March 6th, 1:08. I'm not breaking any news here. Everybody that has a pulse and knows anything about hockey, Brock Nelson will be in the Islanders Hall of Fame.
No question.
One day. I didn't ask you for your opinion on it. So he is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. And the NHL trading deadline is tomorrow. So there have been all kinds of rumors that the Islanders are going to trade him. Now, they were trying to get him to sign an extension. They don't want to lose him for nothing. But given where the Islanders are in the standings right now, I think 5 points out of a playoff spot, the odds are the Islanders are probably not going to make the playoffs. And even if they do, how valuable would Brock Nelson be to them? And we did this last week. We covered this on the show. We even did a poll question about it, should the Islanders trade him. I think most Islander fans, even though we all love him, and he's been a great Islander, but the best thing for this franchise is to start to turn the page and start to build for the future. So we'll find out sometime tomorrow if Brock Nelson will be an Islander when they take the ice on Saturday night in San Jose. So there's a lot of emotions going on in and around that. Are they going to trade him? Are they not going to trade him? And if you were either at the game on Tuesday night or you were watching the game on TV on MSG, and I was so busy, I wanted to send Tony the clip, the interview with Shannon Hogan. Maybe while I'm spewing, maybe he can find it on Twitter, the post-game interview between Shannon Hogan and Brock Nelson, or maybe Wiz can find it or whatever. And I don't know if we'll get a chance to play it, but I meant to do it this morning, and I apologize. But if you didn't see it after the game, Shannon Hogan and Brock Nelson scored a goal on Tuesday night, and he was the first star of the game. And, of course, Shannon is so good at her job. We're really lucky to have her as part of the Islander family when she arrived for the 2014-15 season. And she has definitely become a Long Islander and a New Yorker, and she does a wonderful job as the pre- and post- and intermission host for the Islanders. And, of course, she got right into it with him. No question, right into it. So, with all the emotions, it looks like Tony's doing yeoman's work. Right?
Did you want to play it?
Yeah. Instead of let me set it up.
Okay.
So this is Brock Nelson is the first star of the game, and of course it could be his last game as an Islander. Let's listen in as Shannon Hogan.
I'm not ready.
You're not ready yet?
Not ready.
Okay.
Give me a second.
So Shannon Hogan is about to interview Brock Nelson, and as soon as you saw this unfolding, you knew that somebody was going to get emotional with this, because Brock Nelson loves being an Islander. He's been an Islander his whole career. He got married and raised a family here on Long Island, and now this may be the last time he is interviewed as a New York Islander. Are we ready for that now? Yes, here's courtesy of MSG-SN, Shannon Hogan interviewing Brock Nelson.
Brock, I'm going there, my friend. I want to know how you're able to play a game like this that is up to your identity with everything going on right now and the noise, and knowing what it means to wear this Islanders jersey for you.
Just worry about playing the game. That's about it.
I think I can speak for the fans and your teammates. You are one of those players that put your heart and soul into every game. You have made everyone proud to be an Islanders fan. What has it been like for you being a part of a win against a Winnipeg team that's so good and taps into the identity of this team that you've been a core part of for so long?
Yeah, I think it was just a testament to the no quit. We had a tough one last night. We talked about a response. Great job by Lizzie setting the tone there. That was a big fight, standing up for us, just sending a message. And tough back-to-back. It's a really good team. It's a big win for us.
What's the most special part about playing here at UBS Arena for you?
Everything. I mean, all of it. I think it's a great place, great fans. Yeah.
Brock, I hope to see you soon. Thanks so much for your time. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
I mean, could you have done a better post-game interview if you're Shannon? I mean, she got right to the point, and you heard, and Shannon kept herself together there. But Brock Nelson, you can tell, was starting to well up because he has a feeling that this is his last game. Now, he was a little more controlled in the locker room. We had a chance to speak to him after the game. But, and I would not bring this up if it was not reported other places, but there were people after the game that tweeted and put on social media that they saw Shannon leaving UBS Arena in tears and emotional. And I can tell you that she was like that seconds after the game was over. After she did that interview, she walked past us, a line of people waiting to get into the Islanders locker room. And I'm paraphrasing exactly what she said, was that I just have a feeling that was the last time. And that was the last time that maybe she interviews Brock Nelson as a member of the New York Islanders. And this all circles back to the emotions of what it's like to be in sports, because some people may have said, well, you know, why was she emotional? Why was he emotional? Why is everybody making a big deal about this? It's just a hockey game. It's just a player. It's just a broadcaster, whatever. And back to my original point about all of this is that when you work in sports, or when you are a sports fan, if you are a player or a coach or a broadcaster or a writer, inevitably you're going to get close to a player or a coach. In my case, I've been very, very lucky in 35 years of doing this for a living, that I've forged friendships and relationships with people who I've worked with, people who I've covered. I mean, some of my dear friends today, and this is why I was so excited to be back with the New York Dragons, the new version, is that I met so many great people and had such a great experience working for the first era of the Dragons from 2001 to 2008, that you create relationships and friendships for life. I mean, that's the way it is. And the same goes if you're covering sports, you're a fan. You feel it. You feel the emotion when you're a sports fan. It's different than anything else. Obviously, it does not compare to the emotions of you're dealing with, a family member when family member is going through something, or your child is going through something, your wife or your husband is going through something. There's nothing in the world that compares to that. But I bring this up because a lot was made about what happened the other night at UBS Arena. And listen, I thought Shannon handled it emotionally, and she was all of Islanders country the other night. Because it's not easy to watch a player who played his whole career in one uniform all of a sudden go to another team. Look, nowadays it happens. Years and years ago, you never saw players switch teams. And then free agency and trading and salary caps, it's impossible. It's impossible to keep players forever, which is why, as an Islanders fan, I am ecstatic. I am so grateful that Mike Bossy played his whole career with the Islanders, that Dennis Potvin played his whole career with the Islanders. We just had Ken Morrow on the show last week, and he played his whole career with the Islanders. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. But it really, really hits home when you've got a guy who spent 10-plus years with your team, and now all of a sudden he's gone. And if you're a fan of the Islanders, it's going to be sad. It's the best thing that can happen to the team because they have to get something back in return for him. But it's not easy to say goodbye. And it's not easy to say goodbye if you're a fan, or if you're Shannon Hogan, or if you're Peter Schwartz, the Islander fan who also covers the Islanders. It's not easy because these are guys that you see them every day in the locker room. Like when I covered the Jets for years and years and years, I remember my wife was pregnant with our first child, with Bradley. And Bradley was due on a certain date, and the little son of a gun took his sweet-ass time coming out. And I remember being at a Jets practice and going into the locker room afterward, and one of the Jet players, Pete Kendall, who I still stay in touch with, Jets offensive lineman, would come up to me and say, hey, how's your wife doing? When's the baby coming? Oh, he's due. We're heading over, to the hospital a little bit. Goes, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, I'm here to interview Brooks Bollinger for the pregame show because I was working for ESPN Radio. He goes, wait, your wife's getting ready to have a baby and you're sitting here interviewing Brooks? I'm like, well, yeah, that's it's getting taken care of later. And but this is what happens when you create relationships, even with players you cover. They ask you how your family is doing. I'm willing to bet that Brock Nelson and Shannon Hogan had a million different conversations about when Shannon was pregnant and their family had a baby, when Brock Nelson's family had a baby. I'm sure they talked about it a million times, and that's what I'm saying is that there are emotions that you feel in sports that if you're not a sports fan, you just don't understand. So I know I spent the better part of 16, 17 minutes here getting to my point. My point being is that it's very, very special to be a sports fan. It's even more special when you're a sports fan and you get to do what you want to do for a living and cover sports and be part of teams and create those relationships. And my guess would be is Brock Nelson will be an ex-Islander before tomorrow is up. And that's going to be tough watching it, whether it's a Minnesota Wild jersey or Winnipeg Jets jersey, whatever it might be. It's going to be tough because he grew up an Islander. He was an Islanders first-round draft pick. He was a Bridgeport Sound Tiger, and then he became a New York Islander. He's an all-star. He helped the Islanders get to the Final Four twice. And it's not easy to say goodbye. It's probably best. And listen, you never know. You could bring him back at the end of the season. You can bring him back in the offseason as a free agent. But just talking about the raw emotion of being a sports fan, that was so on display the other night at UBS Arena that I wanted to open the show with it. And listen, as an Islanders fan, I thank Brock Nelson for everything he did. He was a wonderful Islander for a long time. I'll be stunned if he's still an Islander tomorrow, but if he never wears the Islander jersey again, he's done more than enough, way more than enough, to ensure his rightful spot at the top of UBS Arena in the Islanders Hall of Fame. We're going to switch gears. We're going to talk baseball. When we come back, we're going to talk to the editor-in-chief of Baseball Digest. My friend Rick Cerrone is going to join us when we come back on the other side, coming right back after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
Living Legends memorabilia and collectibles is the best place to find autographed entertainment and sports memorabilia. We guarantee the authenticity of each and every item in our shop to provide you with quality collectibles anytime you browse our inventory. Our memorabilia includes autographed photos, sports equipment, jerseys, hats, and other paraphernalia from current athletes and legendary sports stars. If you prefer the entertainment industry, we have signed posters, albums, and photographs from classic movie stars and today's celebrities. To give back to our community, we participate in fundraising auctions for local charities. Call us today to request a specific autograph, find a special gift for someone else, or schedule an event. Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. This segment of Sports Bash is presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Welcome back to the show. Time to talk a little baseball, and we welcome in a good friend of mine, longtime Yankees media relations director, and now the editor-in-chief of the longest-running baseball publication in the world, Baseball Digest. We welcome to the show Rick Cerrone. Rick, it's Peter. How are you?
Hi, Peter. Great to be with you and Tony.
Tony is he's like the silent partner in this. He just runs the dial.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. No, it's amazing. I do get along with him, even though he's a Met fan.
That's okay. My wife was a Met fan.
Well, my wife too. As you know this, my wife and I have a mixed marriage.
The funny thing happened to her Met fandom. We went to work for the Pirates and then the Yankees.
Yeah.
And, they paid the check, so you started rooting for them, and very tough to get it back. But.
Yeah. See, I would have a hard... the Mets I could probably take a paycheck from. If the New York Rangers ever offered me a job, I'd probably turn it down.
Well, I'm going to talk to your wife about that first.
I think
they pay very well, Peter.
I understand that, but that would be a difficult situation. But anyway, it's a moot point. It's not happening anyway. But thank you for spending some time. And I teased this at the beginning of the show, and I wanted to start with this because I didn't want to forget. But obviously, we had a very outstanding relationship when you were the PR director for the Yankees, and I was covering the team for a number of different outlets. But actually, do you remember the first time that we actually spoke? Do you remember this?
Oh, Peter, you're obviously going back probably 30 years.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm going to tell everybody the first time we ever spoke was when I was in college at Buffalo State College, and I was an intern for the Buffalo Bisons. And one of mine, at that time, they're getting ready to move into Pilot Field, the brand new stadium in downtown Buffalo. And one of my jobs as an intern was I played a significant role in writing the media guide, and a lot of the stats in the media guide would come from the Pittsburgh Pirates because we had just signed with them as the affiliate. And I had a question. I remember going to Mike Buchkowski. If you remember Mike, he was a longtime PR. Now he's like a big boss there with the Bisons. And I said, I have a question. This doesn't seem right. He goes, you have to call Rick Cerrone with the Pirates on that. And that was actually the first time we ever spoke on the phone. And who would have thunk that we would have seen each other just about every day for all those years when you were with the Yankees?
Well, that's going back to obviously to my Pirate days.
Yeah.
late 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
Did you work with Greg Brown when he was the
Yes.
to the Bisons? Yeah.
Because he came on board with the Bisons the first year we were in Pilot Field, and then I think he was with them for a few years and went on to the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember going up there with the team when we played an exhibition game. We actually played the Bisons.
Yeah.
One year in an exhibition game, and that was really an enjoyable trip to make to Buffalo.
Yeah, it's great. I was always hoping Buffalo was kind of my second home after spending 4 years up there. I always held out hope they would get a major league team, and they wound up getting the Blue Jays for a short time as a result of COVID. But that's a beautiful stadium they have up there.
They also had the New York Knights.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that was in the old place. That was in War Memorial Stadium,
I helped them find that ballpark for the movie. I was the baseball consultant from Major League Baseball on the movie, and I remember going up and watching them film scenes out of chronological order, willy-nilly, at War Memorial Stadium.
So that stadium was still up. I went to college up there from 1985 to 1989. So I was at the last Bisons game in War Memorial Stadium, and I was at the first Bisons game in Pilot Field. And that was an interesting place to see a baseball game, War Memorial Stadium. Very, very interesting.
My God. But you know what? The great thing about it is I remember the producer of the movie when they were looking for location, and they started talking about different available ballparks. We don't want people to look at and say, "Oh, that's Wrigley Field." So the New York Knights in the movie were a team in the National League, and they pretty much had their own unique ballpark.
Yeah.
That people around, unless you lived in the Buffalo area, Western New York, you didn't look at any scene and say, "Oh, that's War Memorial." It was Knights Field, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and by the way, The Natural is my favorite movie. I don't know if I ever told you that, but I have so many great movies that I've seen in my life. The Natural, by far. Every time it's on TV, I put it on, I watch it. My wife will come over and say, "You're watching that movie like you've never seen it before."
Well, next time you watch it, I'll tell you where all the mistakes are. I keep learning of more and more. But last week I did Richard Neer's show on WFAN.
Yes, I was in studio. I was doing updates that morning.
Yeah, and he asked me, "What's your top baseball movies?" And I named like 3 or 4 movies, and he said, "Wait a second, you're not naming The Natural or Pride of the Yankees?" And now that's probably my one and two.
Yeah.
And I think it was sports movies, not baseball movies.
Yeah.
But I just completely I don't know what happened. It was a brain cramp. How do I forget the Natural where I'm in the credits?
Yeah.
And so that's what being 70 will do to you.
Well, you as long as you're young at heart, Rich. That's Rick. That's all we care about.
I like to think I am, and then I look in the mirror and I so.
Rick Cerrone, editor-in-chief of Baseball Digest and a longtime PR director for both the Pirates and the Yankees. I want to get to the Yankee years in a little bit, but let me ask you about Baseball Digest, and you hooked up with them a couple of years ago, and as I mentioned, the longest-running baseball publication that there is out there. How much fun has it been for you getting involved with that publication and continuing to try and help it grow?
Oh, it's been a tremendous challenge, a tremendous honor. We've made such great strides. I have to be honest with you, when someone reached out to me about this job back in 2018, I wasn't even aware that Baseball Digest was still in existence. And I later found a lot of people within the game were the same as me. So we basically had to re-engage it with the industry. But to put in perspective what it means for me to be at the helm editorially of Baseball Digest, when I was 14 years old, my first week of my sophomore year at Yorktown High School up in Westchester County, I got a new guidance counselor, which meant nothing to me. Like my guidance counselor from freshman year, and I was an awful student. I had to take 2 courses from freshman year over again in the summer just to become a sophomore. I was really struggling, and I was going to get a new guidance counselor. My guidance counselor is now the principal, and I don't know how it happened that I was assigned to a man named Buddy Dowds. Now, Mr. Dowds, I knew two things about him. He was also the football coach, and his father was the first ever coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that kind of resonated with me. So I'm first week, second week of sophomore year, I'm sitting in Mr. Dowd's office, and he's looking at my rap sheet or my grades, and
that's a good way of putting it, rap sheet.
Yeah, that's what I called it.
Yeah.
And finally, and Peter and Tony, I can still picture this today, where I was sitting next to his desk, what he was wearing in his little cinder block office. And he looks at me and he says, "Let me ask you a question. If you could do anything you want, what are you doing in, let's say, 10 years? Now, I know that whatever I answer, I want to be an airline pilot, a police officer, whatever it is, he's going to say, well, if you want to do that, you're probably going to need a high school diploma, and we're not off to a very good start." But my answer blew him away. My answer was, "That's easy, coach. I'm the public relations director of the New York Yankees."
Wow.
Now, after he got over the shock, and he would tell you to this day, he's now 92 years old, but he can't call me on the phone and leave me a voicemail without going back to that day. He said, I had just seen the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, who is this guy? So because that never happened before, never happened since, that somebody basically said, this is what I'm going to do, and then he went out and did it. But you got to remember, that was simply the catalyst, and wanting to be the public relations director of the Yankees was kind of the carrot in front of me that gave me 25 years up to that, getting the Yankee job, and doing things like being the baseball consultant on The Natural, starting my own baseball magazine, creating a sports talk show in New York. That all came from him saying to me, okay, if that's what you want to do, and you can get your grades up and you can keep them up, do you think, because I went and told him everything that Bob Fischel, then the Yankees PR director, what he did for the Yankees. He did the game notes, he did the yearbook, the media guide, blah, blah, blah. He said, if you can get your grades up and keep them up, do you think you could do for my football team what this guy Bob Fischel does for the Yankees? So, Peter, I walked into that office, a disengaged, underachieving student. I walked out of that office at 14 years old with a job. I'm the public relations director of the Yorktown High School football team. And everything that's happened to me in my life, where I went to college, and everything I did after, started in that office. But the reason I told you that story, if he had said, well, and he did say this, he said, there's only one of those jobs in the world.
Right.
You might want to be a little more general, like, I want to be a public relations director for a Major League Baseball team.
You could have settled for the Mets.
Well, you know what? At that stage, at 14, I'm like you now. I'm not working for the Mets, or no, I wouldn't. but I knew the history of the Yankees.
Yes,
I knew where Joe Pepitone ranked on the all-time home run list. So it was the Yankees. But Peter, I will tell you, if Mr. Dowds had said, well, if you don't get that, what's the next, what else you got? What's the next thing you'd like to do? I would have thought about it for about 10 seconds. And honestly, Peter, I would have said, okay, I'm the editor of Baseball Digest. That would have been number 2. So I got to do them both.
Yeah.
And, very fortunate. And, I couldn't be more happy or satisfied if nothing happens moving forward. I didn't get cheated.
Yeah, 2 dream jobs. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You were inspired by that the high school guidance counselor and the teacher. And when I was a senior in high school, my social studies teacher told me I was wasting my time wanting to get into broadcasting.
Well, you know what? I never had anybody tell me that. I've had people. There was a great, and I'm not doubting that someone told you that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It happened.
Like, I remember there was a colleague of mine at the student newspaper at Northern Illinois University. Now, I got to Northern Illinois University. You live in New York. I'd never been on a plane. And I end up at Northern Illinois University because in being the PR director, so to speak, of the Yorktown High School football team and then the basketball team and then the baseball team, I met a reporter that covered high school sports. And my senior year, he moves out to DeKalb, Illinois, and becomes the sports editor of the DeKalb Daily Chronicle.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, hey, nice knowing you. Thanks for all you did for me.
Yeah.
But he calls me and he says, hey, you got to come out and look at this major university. You're 25,000 students. They're now a Division I sports program. So I flew out there. Had never been on a plane. And so I'm seeing Northern Illinois University with the sports editor of the Chronicle. So I'm sitting in the basketball office with all the players. I'm going to luncheons. I went to a basketball game. They had just beaten Indiana.
Wow. Okay.
Number 5 ranked Indiana. They beat them by 19 points the week before I got there. Bobby Knight's first year. So I went to Northern Illinois. And as I tell people, that was my Disneyland because it had a newspaper, it had a radio station. I learned how to make coffee with everything. It was everything. So
I learned how to do my laundry when I went to college.
Well, there you go. That too. I used the coffee story, you used the laundry story.
Yeah.
So that came from Buddy Dowd saying, can you do for my football team?
Yeah.
So, and then Northern Illinois got me to learn my trade. And when I came out and there was no jobs, happenstance reared its head again when a guy that lived in my local town and was publishing a collector's magazine decided that he didn't want to do it anymore because he did it to promote his set of baseball cards because he was going to compete with Topps. But when the second set wasn't going to happen, he didn't need this magazine to put the cards in the centerfold, so he wanted to get rid of it. And he had one issue left to go that he was obligated to send to subscribers, and his editor went off to college. So his editor was a high school senior. His editor's name was Keith Olbermann.
Whoa!
So wow. Keith goes off to Cornell, and he asked me, "Can you finish up this magazine, and then I'm done with it? I'll give you $150." He might have said, "I'll give you $15,000." That's what it seemed. $150.
Wow!
So I did it. I put. Remember, Peter, those days you're dealing with wax and type and typesetting. You're not doing this on your computer. So I did it, and I said, man, I'm enjoying this. So I convinced this gentleman, Mike Arenstein, let's keep this magazine going, but let's make it, instead of Collectors Quarterly, let's make it Baseball Quarterly, because there's no regularly distributed full-size baseball magazine.
Yeah.
There's only the digest. So he did that. I was the editor. After a couple of months, things grew, and I took over and became the editor and publisher. So as Bill Shannon, who you remember.
Yeah, may he rest in peace.
He may rest in peace, one of my dear friends. I hired him as a publicist. Well, he pitched being my publicist, and I said, well, what are you going to publicize? And he said, well, the biggest thing that you have to publicize is you. I said, why me? And he said, well, you're the youngest editor and publisher of a nationally distributed magazine in the country. And I said, really? How do you know that? And he says, well, how old are you? I said, I'm 22. He said, well, if you're not, then there's going to be one ticked off 22-year-old publisher but until we find that guy, you're the youngest.
There you go.
So everything led to what got me to the Yankees in 1996.
Tell us about the preview issue of Baseball Digest for 2025. We're going to take a look at the cover. It's got Juan Soto, new Met, Juan Soto on the cover. What can people find inside the preview edition?
Well, it's really your program to spring training and the early season, because in addition to have a little synopsis of each team by a writer, each writer was from a team in that division was assigned to do the 5 teams and the division overview. But in addition to predictions and predicted order of finish, You've got team records. You've got the entire 40-man roster, coaching staff with uniform numbers. People use this. They take it to spring training. I'll go to spring training, and I'll do this next week, and I'll see people with their preview issue, because you don't have printed programs anymore in a lot of ballparks. So it's got a lot. It's got 5 rookies to watch for each division, and it's on sale now. Juan Soto gets the cover honors, which we consider kind of an honor. It was unveiled Tuesday on MLB Network, and it's on sale now at all Barnes & Noble, at selected newsstands. Tough to find in New York, because New York is a tough newsstand market to break into. But you can subscribe, and you get it print, digital, and you get access to every issue in the 84-year history of Baseball Digest by simply going to baseballdigest.com.
That's incredible. I'm going to ask you about the history in a second, but first, where does Baseball Digest predict the Yankees and the Mets to finish this year?
I think Sean McAdam from Boston, who did the American League East, has the Yankees first.
Okay.
And John Parado, who did the National League East, has the Mets third, but the third one of the wild cards in the NL, in the National League.
Oh, that's good. As long as both teams make the playoffs, then you never know what could happen in the postseason. Just like last year, the Mets get to the NLCS, the Yankees get to the World Series. Obviously, Baseball Digest, as you mentioned, has been around for a long time. The first issue was published in August of 1942. We're going to take a look at that first. It's up there on the screen. The first issue of Baseball Digest, and let's see if the editor-in-chief currently of Baseball Digest knows who is that at bat on the cover swinging the bat on the first issue of Baseball Digest.
Well, I do know who it was, and I know the story behind it.
Okay.
Because a couple of years ago, Dom Amore, who you know from the Hartford Courant, did a story. It was for our 80th anniversary issue back in July, August of 2022 on the very first issue, and that is Elmer Vallow of the Philadelphia Athletics, who's on the cover for no other reason we can determine than, there was no story on Elmer Vallow. I'm not sure.
I don't even know who Elmer Vallow is.
Oh, he was a pretty good ball player
Okay.
if you look him up, and he had a somewhat lengthy career.
Okay.
And he later learned, because I think Dom talked to his son, he later learned that he was on that first cover. It's worth a few $100s now, but the only reason given back then that it was the cover, he was on the cover, was that it was a, quote, award-winning photo.
Okay.
So that's why that was on the cover.
It is a great photo.
That was, and we have a great piece that I inaugurated, I think shortly after I got the job, and it's a lot of fun. We go back, my associate editor Jim Lachima and I, we go back and we peruse issues. Okay, let's go back 60 years ago. That's 1965. Let's go back 70 years, 1950, and let's find a story that people would enjoy reading today. And I will tell you that the one that we're going to be featuring in the next issue, in the May-June issue, which we're putting together now, is from 1945.
Okay.
So that's 80 years ago. That we got it, but we found great articles on Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle and all kinds of Gil Hodges, just great stuff. And sometimes it's fun to see people's perspective back then about the future of the game, or things that were going on. Like we ran an article, I'm not sure it's in this one or the last one, when Hank Greenberg, the Hall of Fame baseball player, who I had the pleasure to surprisingly have lunch with one day at Gallagher. I'll tell you that story real quick. He became general manager of the Cleveland Indians, and he was going to put forth this rule that anybody booing was going to be ejected. I mean, I don't know how far that went, but it was a fun story. But when I had Baseball Magazine 4 times a year became Baseball Quarterly 4 times a year became Baseball Magazine for a short time 6 times a year. We initiated a Lifetime Achievement Award, which we've now done with Baseball Digest as well. But the first recipient of Baseball Magazine's Lifetime Achievement Award was Bill Veeck. And Bill Veeck agreed to come to New York to the press conference, which was in February, where we also had our Players of the Year, to get the Lifetime Achievement Award. And he called me up the day before, and Bill Veeck, hello, Rick, this is Bill Veeck, And he asked me, he said, look, as I asked him if I could take him to lunch down at Gallagher's after this morning press conference, and he graciously said yes. He called because I have two friends that I would like to have join us. Do you think it would be okay if I brought two dear friends to lunch?
I can't wait to hear who these people were.
I said, Mr. Veeck, absolutely can bring whoever you want. Even though lunch at Gallagher's for the youngest editor and publisher of a national magazine. He said, yeah. I said, I didn't even ask him who they were. He goes, okay, I'd like to bring Hank Greenberg and Larry Doby. So I would have paid good money to have lunch with Hank Greenberg and Larry Doby, which I did. I did pay the check.
Yeah.
But, you talk about a wonderful experience.
Oh, my God.
But just things people that I've met, Bill Veeck. I mean, just Larry Doby, Hank Greenberg. I mean, I could go on and on. But
I would be remiss if we didn't close with your time with the Yankees. And, you mentioned you got there in '96, just in time for the dynasty. And listen, I think it would be easy if I asked you, obviously great memories of working for that Yankees team. And obviously there's championships left and right. Like, give me a moment or two. Maybe it's one of the World Series. Maybe it's not. Excuse me. Give me a moment or two that sticks out from your time with the Yankees.
Well, outside of just being around, I wouldn't say forged relationships with, because some of the people you haven't seen or spoken to since you were there. But to be around these people, the best in the world at what they do, iconic Yankees. I mean, we could rattle them off: Bernie, David Cohn, Matsui, Clemens, A-Rod, Jeter. I mean, what an honor. But the memories I have are not really like things that happened on the field, although I could give you a list of 50 that I can't believe I was there for, from perfect games to Brocious' home run in the in the World Series. But it was the people meeting Milton Berle, going to lunch with Milton Berle, and meeting Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. And telling Ringo Starr when I met him in a shoe store in Boston, because he was there with a friend of mine, David Fishoff, who was a concert promoter, and said, hey, come say hello. I introduced him to my 10-year-old son and said, Ringo, this is Corey. He's a big Beatles fan. And Ringo Starr pokes him in the stomach. My son doubled over left, and he said, no, he's not. He's a little Beatles fan. And I'm like, okay, that's it. Thank you. Good night. But I got a letter when I was the youngest editor and publisher of the National Magazine from Frank Sinatra.
Oh,
who in the letter said, to do what you have done, it should serve as an inspiration to young people everywhere. So, and then the one name I didn't mention, but I mean, George Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he thought very highly of me, and I know Hal would adhere to that, because he told me it meant a number of times. I don't know what you and him got going, but but we went toe to toe so many times.
Wow.
Because if I can tell you real quick, I decided when I first interviewed him, when I was the youngest editor of Baseball Magazine, I interviewed him and I asked him about his leadership style. And he said, some leaders are Pattons and some are Eisenhowers, referring to the two very different World War II generals. He said, I guess I'm a Patton. And knowing that I wanted this job still, I walked to the parking lot after that interview saying, okay, if you ever get this job, that's the way you're going to play it. He's General Patton and you're a lowly corporal. So, Peter, when I had that job, it was always sir. It was never boss. It was Mr. Steinbrenner. I answered the phone, yes, sir. I prefaced everything I said with, sir, if I might. Sir, if I could give you this opinion. sir, I can't let you do that. Sir, are you out of your mind? You know, things like that. But it worked.
What was it like working with George Costanza?
Well, you know what? I got nothing for being the role model for George Costanza. I did float the idea of cotton uniforms, and it just didn't go anywhere. You know, I mean, you know, I get it. You know, when I wanted the job with the Yankees when I was 14, they were owned by CBS.
Yes.
You know, shortly thereafter, they're now owned from who then was a relatively unknown shipbuilder from Cleveland, who, when I walked in that door to my office in 1996, he's being satirized on an iconic sitcom, you know, for firing people like it's a bodily function. So, you know, it was a challenge, but I think I was up to the challenge. You know, you said I joined them in 96 in time for these championships. You think that was coincidental?
Oh, that's awesome. Rick, I wish we had some more time. We have to do this again. It's long overdue that we caught up and chatted. Let's do this again when the season gets underway and we can share some more great stories.
And I will tell you now, Peter, I think both teams are going to struggle if they are to win the division. It's not going to be an easy season.
Okay.
To win the division, or for one of them, and it's going to be a challenge to make the playoffs. But let's get back together afterwards and see how I did.
Absolutely. You have no idea how enjoyable this was. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, Rick.
Well, you're one of the great people, and good luck with the Dragons. I'm so excited about that.
By the way, before I let you go, there is a commonality story here with Rick and me and the Dragons. So there was a game I was doing on the radio, and Rick had left the Yankees. He was doing his own PR company, and you were with Goose Gossage.
That's right.
And you brought Goose Gossage to a Dragons game. You brought him up, and we had a chance to interview him at halftime of a Dragons game.
True.
So those are
my only Dragons game to date.
Yes. So of all the things you did for me, the times I've covered the Yankees, that ranks right up there as something I'll always be appreciative of that you did for me.
Well, I've been watching you through Boomer and Geo and this new venture you have. They've been kind to you. They're both terrific, and I just couldn't wish you enough success.
Thank you so much, Rick. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Awesome. All right, we'll see you soon. Have a happy baseball season. Wow, that was, if I may say so myself, that was a top 5. And Rick will say, why isn't it top 1? But one of the best interviews I think I've ever done. Or not that I'm a great interviewer, but like one of the best spots we've ever had here on the show, or any radio talk show that we've ever done. Tony, executive decision: should we blow off the second commercial?
What, and then play it at the end?
And play it at the end. Yeah, we'll do it at the end.
Okay,
we'll do it at the end, like we did the other day, because we just ran way too long. I know somebody who enjoyed that interview a lot, and that's Wiz.
Oh, I
Welcome.
loved it.
Wasn't that great?
Oh, I was really I was invested into the entire thing. It was time with the Pirates, also knowing that the youngest publisher,
Yep.
and knowing all these people like Goose Gossage and George Steinbrenner. It's incredible.
The only thing that I'm disappointed with in not going to the break is first time ever, and I schedule all the music on the show, was we were going to hear from the Tubes. Talk to you later, but we'll save that for Tuesday's show. I'll make sure I put that in. It is time to play Stump the Wiz. We ask that you DM your best sports trivia question to Sports Bash Media social media channels. If we pick your question and you stump the Wiz, you win a prize. Today's prize: 2 tickets for a mutually agreed upon Mets or Yankees game this season, courtesy of TicketBash.com. Today's contestant is Phil Steinberg from Bayshore, and he sends in 2 questions. So this is one of those situations where we have 2 questions, and you have to get the first question right to move on to the second question. But you only have 2 minutes for both questions.
Okay.
All right, you ready? Mm-hmm. Tony's going to have 2 minutes on the clock. He's ready to go. So you have to answer the first question. We'll stop the clock. We'll towel off, and we'll get reset for the second question, okay?
Right, okay.
And again, can you believe that somebody had the audacity to question the validity of this particular segment of my show?
They should be banned.
They should be banned. Don't listen to the show. If you think it's fraudulent, don't listen to it. We have 23 other viewers that can watch the show.
What?
What? You're not following along here?
I
All right, so let's get to it, right? Because we're running out of time, and I'm really getting hangry.
and you wouldn't.
Let's go. Here we go. 2 minutes are on the clock, and I'm going to give you the question, and then we'll start the clock.
Okay.
What was the name of the New York Yankees before they were the New York Yankees? We have 2 minutes on the clock, and away we go.
Well, first they were the Baltimore Orioles, and then they were the New York Highlanders.
Stop the clock. He's right. And he got bonus points because I was going to go into this whole thing about it. So right before they were the Yankees, they were the Highlanders. You are correct. The franchise was originally called the Baltimore Orioles, but the franchise rights to the defunct team was purchased in 1903, and the team was called the Highlanders. In 1913, the team became the New York Yankees.
Yes.
Did it take him a second or 2 seconds?
It took him 4.
4 seconds.
Yep.
No,
I think you were. I think you were slow on the clock. To be honest,
Well, I
with
was.
you.
Yeah, I was. I was slow on the clock.
Yeah, I think-
but I
That's okay.
but I think it was 4. I shut it off at 6 seconds, but I think he got it in 4.
I think you got it in 4. Okay, whatever. You know,
sure, and I
4
thought
seconds, 2 seconds.
that was 158. I thought.
Well, you listen. You know,
Oh, was it?
beggars
Yeah.
can't be choosers.
That's
you know,
true.
whatever.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay,
I believe
whatever.
him.
Listen, the way we're going here, he's going to get this one in 4 seconds anyway. So let's see. Are you ready for number 2?
Okay.
Ready for round 2? Here we
Okay.
go. Question number 2. This may take a little while.
Yes.
This. You saw the question.
See it,
Right. What former Major League Baseball player's name is composed of 4 body parts? The look on his face. Listen, you were the one who brought up. What did you bring up on the show a couple of weeks ago? What was the incest? You brought up incest on the show 2 weeks ago. You brought up the word, not me. You're the one who brought it up.
I mean, it sounded. It's just the
Okay,
context
whatever.
of the situation.
I think sometimes Wiz needs to keep his mouth closed, right?
It's both my biggest strength and my biggest weakness.
Sometimes it's me too. Yeah, sometimes
Yes.
I open up my big fat mouth way too much. And my wife will tell you that. Are you ready? What former Major League Baseball player's name is composed of 4 parts? I'm not going to make it through this. We have 1 minute and 56 seconds on the clock remaining, and away we go.
Jesus. Well, whenever I think of like badly named people, Rusty Kuntz always comes to mind.
Oh my! Are you sure you pronounced the last word correctly?
Kuntz, isn't it?
It's Kuntz.
Yeah, but Rusty Kuntz is funnier.
Oh my God!
Let's see.
We're the best of Wiz Part 2.
Someone has to be named Richard.
There's
So
kids watching. I told you my son's friend is questioning the validity, and you're saying words like that on the show.
it shows you that it's not rigged.
Okay. How much time do we have left in this Michigas?
We're a little over a minute.
A little over a minute. He's not going to get it, but go ahead. Keep saying bad words. Go ahead.
Someone
You
is named.
got the floor.
Someone's named Richard, probably. So we all know
No.
where that's going to be.
No.
Okay. So that's so shocking. Is it like a nickname that someone has?
No, this is the guy's first and last name
Wow.
is comprised of 4 body parts.
Wow.
45 seconds.
Kid
45 seconds.
Well, the guy.
Tony, would you have gotten this
must
right?
have had some terrible parents.
I think I would have gotten the first name.
Yeah.
Someone's named like I don't know, like Arm or something like that.
You're on the right track.
His name is Armin. No, that's the that's the actor who.
You were on the right track.
You were on the right track.
Armand. I think of
15 seconds.
Not
15 seconds.
well. Harmon Killebrew is not a.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Army leg skull. What does that have to do with the Yankees?
It has nothing to do with the Yankees. I don't think this guy ever played for the Yankees.
You were on the right track with Arm. I really thought he was
You were
going
on
to get
the
it.
right track with Arm. Let me give you a little hint. Doesn't count.
Okay.
What's his first name?
Tony? Anthony?
Well, Tony.
Tony.
Yeah.
Armis.
Armis?
Tony Arm.
Tony Arm S.
Toe, knee, arm, miss.
Tony Armas. Toe, knee, arm, ass.
Interesting. It's a bit of a stretch, Tony Armas. I wouldn't really think of that as like, 4 different body parts.
Well, I didn't think of it either until the question was sent to me.
It's a bit of it's an interesting one.
Do this week in sports history. Let's go in another direction now.
Okay. Oh God, Tony arm ass.
Yeah.
Someone should call him that. Yes, Jesus. On This Week in Sports History, NHL legend Ray Bourque, who had spent 21 seasons with the Boston Bruins, was dealt to the Colorado Avalanche, and he won a cup with them 2 years later in what was his final game of his career, which was a Game 7 against the Devils, which denied the Devils a chance at a back-to-back. And as we all know how great Ray Bourque was. 5-time Norris Trophy winner.
Have you ever heard of the great comedian Lou Lipschitz?
I've heard the name.
Okay, good.
I have heard the name. So Ray Bourque, legendary Boston Bruin. He was also a Hart Trophy finalist twice, which is rare for a defenseman, which tells you how amazing Bourque was in his NHL career. Also has the number 77 retired by both the Bruins and the Avalanche. As we all know how great Ray Bourque was.
Do you know the Jets used to have a clock management coach that worked under Herm Edwards? And do you know what his name was?
No.
Dick Curl. No, seriously, I'm not joking. Okay, I'm just,
Well, if you think that's God, there's lots of great names there.
Yep.
There's my.
Okay, I think that's enough. It's time for the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. We post a new poll question every Tuesday and Thursday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. Today's question: with Luis Gil out for a while, should the Yankees look for another starting pitcher? The 3 choices: yes, no, wait and see. I would say wait and see. We'll go around the room really quick. Tony?
Yes.
Yes, they should.
Yes.
What about you?
You can never have enough good pitchers. So.
Exactly.
Well, that's why the Yankees didn't trade Marcus Stroman, because now they have Luis Gil out. Couple things before we say goodbye, and we're a couple minutes overtime, and Tony doesn't care because he's on his phone. Doesn't matter.
I'm working, baby.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. This is a long day for you. Do you have any shows before your own show that you have to worry about?
No.
No. It's half a day for you. Coming up on April 24th, I am very, very honored and privileged to, for the 5th year in a row, be the host of the Marty Lyons Foundation NFL Draft Party. And it's going to take place once again at Great South Bay Brewery in Bayshore here on Long Island. And we've done it now for 5 years. I'm very blessed to be the host, and it's a lot of fun. And obviously, we work very, very closely with the Marty Lyons Foundation. My family and I are official volunteers, and it's always great to work with them. And that night in particular, it's great. We have Marty there. We have some former Jets, other NFL players. There's raffle prizes, giveaways, door prizes, all kinds of stuff. I believe they're doing the unlimited pizza with your ticket this year again, which was great last year. So a whole bunch of things going on, and a lot of former NFL players. Some surprises maybe again this year. I don't know. 6:30 to 9:30. It's presented by the Marty Lyons Foundation headquarters in the Long Island chapter. Thursday, April 24th, 2025. 2025. 6:30 to 9:30, and a lot of the excitement will be done early because the Giants have the 3rd pick. And the Jets have the 7th pick, I believe, in the draft. 6th, 7th. I should know that, but 7th. So a lot of excitement early on. The draft will be on the TVs there. If any of the local teams are in playoff action and those games are on the TV, they'll put at least one of them on the TV. So if you're worried about missing something that's going on in the sports world, you'll be able to still get the chance to see it. It's a great venue, great atmosphere, and hopefully you'll be able to come out and have some fun. Great night for a great cause. And I open every time I do that gig. I always start, and the people that have been there now all 5 years, they're going to hear it again. But again, if you told 14-year-old Peter sitting in the upper deck of Shea Stadium watching the Jets annihilate the Green Bay Packers and go on to the playoffs, that I would be asked not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but now 5 times to host the Marty Lyons Foundation draft party. I'd say you're crazy. It's one of the guys I grew up idolizing. And I'm glad that Marty is a really good friend of mine now, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Pardon me if I missed it, but where is it held?
Great South Bay Brewery.
Oh, okay.
In Bayshore.
In Bayshore.
Okay.
Great location. So we look forward to that. And one quick other thing. Again, this is my bi-weekly mention of the team that I'm now the general manager of, the New York Dragons, and we are so excited to be back at the Nassau Coliseum. Take a look at that. We saw that today. So we are now on the video screen outside the Coliseum. There'll be some other variations of that now outside, but we are officially now tenants of the Nassau Coliseum. We're back, fire-breathing football coming June of 2025, our home opener, June 14th. Now, you'll notice at the bottom of that, that's one of the towers that will take you up to the suite level. You see below, to the left, you have the Long Island Nets, and to the right, there is still the logo of the New York Riptide. So we are working to get that replaced and put the Dragons logo up there. But for the time being, we're on the video screen. You'll see that, and I couldn't be more excited. Coming up on the show on Tuesday, wanted to make sure it's on the floor here. You're going to like this. I didn't tell you this yet, Tony. Met fan. You're a Met fan, too. Mm-hmm. He has a brand new book out. A member of the 1969 World Series champion New York Mets, and I'm holding it up right here, Art Shamsky. Has a great new book out, Met Stories I Only Tell My Friends. Art Shamsky will be on the show on Tuesday.
Nice.
How about that? And you know what else is interesting about Art Shamsky? What was the my Everybody Loves Raymond, right?
Yeah, he was on there, right?
Well, but do you know what the Art Shamsky reference is in the show? So Raymond's brother, who was the police officer in the show,
right? The
dog was named Shamsky.
Oh, is that right?
For Art Shamsky, yeah,
wow,
absolutely. So that will do it for this edition of Sports Bash. We had some fun on the show today, for free of charge. Like, you don't have to pay to see this show; you have to pay to sponsor this show. I get paid; everybody gets paid, but you didn't have to if you're the viewers of the show. That'll do it for this edition. So many thanks to my guest, Rick Cerrone. Thanks to Tony Walker and Wiz, everyone here at Governor's Comedy Club. We had a great Stump the Wiz today as well. We're presented by Ticketbash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, by Living Legends Memorabilia, by Rockville Center, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation. And don't forget the Marty Lyons Foundation NFL Draft Party on April 24th. For our entire crew, this is Peter Schwartz saying thank you for watching. Sports Bash returns Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everyone. And again, thanks to Brock Nelson for all the great memories in an Islanders uniform. We'll see you Tuesday.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,500 families, raising over $43 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $6,700 each, and your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 76 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams. giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyWyonsFoundation.org to learn more